In today's video, I am going to be answering a few questions that one of our community members left on a YouTube video of mine. And these are questions that get asked pretty frequently within our community. So I figured I would just make a dedicated video. In the event that maybe you have the same question, I can get it answered for you as well. So welcome to today's video. My name is Diane Parham. I am the creator of the online course and community, the Intermittent Fasting for Today's Aging Woman. We are a community of women who are doing our best to maintain happiness and a healthy, vibrant lifestyle as we go through the perimenopause into postmenopausal season of life. I teach intermittent fasting from the mindset approach, and so that's what I'm going to be talking a little bit about today when I answer these questions. If you have any questions that you would like answered in a video from me about intermittent fasting or exercising or anything that has to do with this whole midlife season of life, always feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I would love to get your question answered for you. If you're ever interested in jumping into one of our intermittent fasting courses, all the information can be found in the link that is usually showing up here in this video or down in the description box below. So let's get started. So the first question I want to address is her asking me, in the first year that I fasted, as your life depended on it, did you allow for memory-making moments? So I often refer to the first year of me practicing an intermittent fasting lifestyle as I fasted as if my life depended on it. And I took that very seriously. I had just been diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, which was shocking to me because I have been in the health and wellness field. I am a certified nutrition coach. I have been teaching women healthy ways to approach nutrition and fitness to avoid things like lifestyle type of illnesses, which is what I refer to pre-diabetic conditions and diabetic conditions as. And so I was shocked. And the reason that I ended up as a pre-diabetic was simply transitioning from perimenopause into menopause and having my estrogen levels start to dip. And naturally, when that happens, insulin levels start to rise. And so I ended up in a pre-diabetic condition. And so I was in search of a new way to approach nutrition and health and reversing these lifestyle type diseases. And so that's when I personally stumbled upon intermittent fasting. I did extensive research and started experimenting. And when I found that intermittent fasting was the missing link for me and I was able to reverse that diabetic condition, I wanted to ensure that it was not going to come back. And so that's where I get the phrase and the mindset that I really started fasting with is I did it as if my life depended on it because I needed to make these changes as a lifestyle change and not just some quick fix approach to going back and getting my A1C levels checked, have them back in normal because I did something for a short period of time and then go back to my original lifestyle approach and then end up sick again. Some of the other things that I was really serious about reversing and really being able to manage and maintain through the rest of my life was the cognitive decline that I was suffering from as well. I literally was the 50-year-old woman in a Target parking lot or a grocery store parking lot who couldn't remember where she parked her car. And it was a really scary feeling for me. And I was the person who would be in a conversation with one of my loved ones and could not recall their name. So couldn't get their name from my brain to my mouth to address them personally. That was also something that was very, very scary for me. And I didn't want that to decline anymore. And so I took intermittent fasting very seriously and I fasted for 20 hours every day for a year as if my life depended on it. And I made sure that while I was in that year of really healing my body, taking advantage of states of autophagy and reversing a lot of the things that were just kind of backing up on me because I was transitioning into a new season of life, I also was very, very diligent about my nutrition. And the one thing that I noticed with intermittent fasting is my body became very hyper focused on things that I was doing that wasn't working for me anymore. And so there were a lot of foods that I just realized were no longer working for me. And I had to eliminate them if I wanted to look and feel my best. So the three areas that I really, really focused on was eliminating gluten, eliminating soy, and eliminating dairy products that just no longer work for me anymore. Gluten and soy were the two big things that were causing me probably the most health-related type of problems. Gluten, I just have an intolerance to that. It was causing a lot of inflammation, achy joints, and I just determined that it just no longer was working for me. For me, gluten was an easy one to eliminate once I really understood how to read food labels and to identify where gluten was kind of hidden in certain things. And then the second one was soy. That one was a little bit trickier. I've had a couple videos that I've done on that as well. And when I was very diligently avoiding soy ingredients in my life, there was one day that I was just very, very diligent and I didn't put anything on or in or around my body until I checked the ingredients labels thoroughly. And I had been exposed to soy 15 times in one day while I was actively avoiding soy. So that was one of those things that was just kind of lingering around and not allowing me to reach my best level of how I looked and felt. And so once I got a handle on that, everything was good. And then dairy is one of those things that can be on or off with. And I just found the certain items in the dairy category of food that work for me and the ones that don't. And what I've really found is that high fat dairy items, so like a 4% cottage cheese or a 4 or 5% yogurt, does not work well for me, but a low fat or a no fat version, so 0 to 2%, works fine. And so that was just an experiment that I had to do. And this is what I always encourage women to do as well, because there are women out there who can have very high fat dairy products and they are doing well and thriving. So I'm not here to tell you that they don't or cannot work for you. I'm just saying if there's something lingering for you and you haven't figured out what it is, but you know that you're not waking up every day looking and feeling your best, that's when you want to experiment with some things and kind of just change things around and see if maybe it's something like just a high cream, ingredient in a yogurt or something that could be causing you some havoc. So that's what I did in that year. I was very, very diligent and I was very, very focused on those little lingering things that were just kind of poking at my side, so to speak, that I would wake up and go, why do I feel this way? I'm doing all the right things. And then I would have to go back and retrace my steps. So I did 100% focus on me first for an entire year. And I did it as if my life depended on it because I didn't want my life to continue the way it had been. I wanted to create a new way for me to live my life so I can live a long, happy, healthy life. And so the memory making moments part of that, this is kind of a twofold area that you as the individual person needs to really figure out for you. So memory making moments are different for everyone, just like nutritional needs are different for everyone. And so you have to take the time to define what a memory making moment is for you and what is not a memory making moment. So again, I've done a couple videos on the subject of the little Johnny rule. And so this is something that I came up with when my kids were young and they were, invited to birthday parties every weekend, sometimes a couple during a weekend. And the parents were always super generous and like, here's some extra pizza, here's some extra cake, here, take these cookies home with you. And so I created this little rule for myself, which was the little Johnny rule. And I just don't eat the food at little Johnny's party. And little Johnny was just the random kid at school who threw a birthday party on the weekend or whatever, or the friend who invited you to a baby shower, or the neighbor who had a cookout or whatever. And anytime I designated something as a little Johnny event, I just chose not to partake in any of the food that was there, mostly because I didn't know what was in the food, or like a little Johnny birthday party on a Saturday, I didn't need to be eating, Chuck E. Cheese pizza at 2 o'clock in the afternoon just because some family member bought too much and they're trying to get rid of it. And so that is how I determined memory making moments. Those are not memory making moments for me. Those are memory making moments for the people throwing the event. And it's not my responsibility to partake in whatever they chose to include in their event. Memory making moments for me that I always will engage in and participate in are the ones that are with my loved ones who are present in my everyday life. So my immediate family and really, really close friends. I will always participate in, categorize those as memory making moments. But if you really sit down and think about all the social opportunities that we have, we're constantly being invited to social events that are centered around food and probably drinking, right? And so, do you need to partake in every one of those? Are they significant enough for you to make exceptions to what it is you say that you want? And if they're not that significant, then you can just go and be with people. And so, there were times during that year that I was very, very diligent about establishing a fasting lifestyle for myself, that I would go out with my family and I would have coffee or water. So if my family wanted to go out to breakfast, and that was during my fasting window, I would just tell them, like, I can either stay home because I really don't want to eat, I'm in my fasting window, or I can go and have black coffee and water with you guys. And if that's cool with you, I would love to spend some time with you. And so I made it about the people and I didn't make it about the food. And then you have to just be really, really honest with yourself about not sulking, about making a choice that's going to take you to the place that you say that you really want to go. And so for me, it was being healthy, losing that extra weight, clearing up the brain fog, reversing the pre-diabetic condition, not letting it get any worse. And so having black coffee and water with my family when they were enjoying breakfast was worth it to me. And then once I got to a place where I was healed and I was really, really comfortable and confident with my emotional and mental decisions for being around food and what was a memory making moment and what was just an invitation that I accepted to attend at an event for, then, I could loosen up a little bit, but I still am very, very diligent about invoking the little Johnny rule. I just don't eat at everyone's event. And that's okay. Most people won't even notice. Most people won't even pay attention. And there are a lot of people who make food that are going to include ingredients that are just not going to work for you, especially if you're really diligent about what your body's intolerant to. And I just don't have time in my life to waste a day trying to make someone else happy about food that they purchase. Just not worth it for me. Take some time to decide what a memory making moment is for you. Like, what are the guidelines for a memory making moment, and what invitations socially that you get invited to that aren't necessarily memory making moments, and can you still participate in them socially without having to partake in food or drink that you didn't have any plans on consuming, or something that might take you out of a fasting window or put you in a situation where you might have some regrets about how you're looking and feeling the next day. Once you get clear on that, then the memory making moment part is fine. It's super easy. So I am not a fan of using a fasting timer. So like an app. I have tried to use an app before, and what I'll notice is I'll get like an alert on my fasting app that's like, are you feeling okay? Check in with your app. And I'll have, been fasting according to my app for 372 hours or something crazy, because I just forget to go to my app to start and stop a fast. And so especially in that first year when I was fasting as if my life depended on it, I broke my fast every day at 2 and I started my next fast every day at 6, like clockwork. I didn't even have to think about it. 2 and 6 were my windows. Now, like I said, I'm very healed. I'm not really managing any kind of health conditions. I fast very fluidly. I can fast for 24 plus hours. I can fast for 16 hours. I can fast for 18 hours. Like, I jump in and out of fasting windows now to have a certain feeling, right? And so I know when I notice that I'm not like super energized, or I'm feeling a little fatigued, or I'm just kind of sluggish, I always fast longer. It's usually when I'm kind of cutting my fast a little short, or maybe we've had a busy social like week or weekend. And so I just know when I need to fast for a certain amount of time, and I don't really track it anymore. The only time I really use a fasting app is if I'm going to show you guys something about a fasting window, and then I have just, an image that I can share and talk about. But I always recommend fasting by times, right? So just designate a time to start your fast, designate a time to end your fast, and just stick with that. And then it just becomes second nature to you. When you get to a point where you're really comfortable and confident with fasting and feasting and why you're doing either one of those two things, then you can just jump in and out at will. And then the last thing she says in her comment to me is, I have a lot of healing to do, but I do want to allow for memory making moments too. So again, you have to be very, very honest with yourself about where you're prioritizing healing versus how you have defined memory making moments for you. I will not miss one of my kids' weddings. and a rehearsal dinner and a piece of cake at the wedding. I won't miss anybody's birthday. We just had a birthday celebration in our house, and after we went out to dinner, everyone went to go get frozen yogurt, and I just said I just didn't want any, and I passed on it. And we're not big birthday cake people, so everybody wanted frozen yogurt, and I was like, I just don't really feel like it, and so I just passed. It was no big deal. And so you get to decide the rules of engagement for socializing around food. Once you do that very clearly and honestly for yourself, then you won't feel like you're missing out because you're putting you as the highest priority. Then when you start to notice the benefits and the healing aspects of putting you first and not other people, right? Or events first, then it's so much easier to make those decisions because you'll be able to look at a scenario and decide whether it's worth it or not for you based on how you've experienced the after effect of said event. And so it does really come down to you making those decisions for you and you clearly defining what's important to you and what you can kind of take a pass on. Food is one of those things that people want to push on other people. Once you get really firm about that, being able to say no, thank you to someone, or I'm going to pass, or I really appreciate it, but I'm going to, skip it this time becomes really easy. And it's amazing once people start noticing some really positive changes in you, they're going to be really impressed with your dedication and your discipline about you taking care of you. And that's a really fun thing to watch happen as well. So I hope this answered your questions and addressed your comments. Put healing as your highest priority. The more you lean into being honest about the decisions you're making, the faster the healing will happen. And so if you're jumping in and out of fasting and making really informed nutritional decisions for yourself, the healing will take a little longer because you'll start it and stop it and start it and stop it. And that can be really frustrating. So I say, if you're really, really, really adamant about healing, go all in. You're worth it. Skipping a Valentine's Day or skipping a 4th of July picnic for a short period of time is not going to be that big of a deal when you see what the payoff is for it. Thanks so much for jumping in with us today. I appreciate you guys. As always, if you have anything you want me to address, I would totally be willing to make a video for you and break it down a little bit deeper. Sometimes answering questions and comments in the comment section on YouTube, I can't really get deep with you and get personal with you. And sometimes a video is just a little bit more appropriate way to do that. Thank you so much for joining me today. As I said, if you'd like to jump into one of our courses, always feel free to get on my email list. All the information is included down below.